we are grateful that you are in here, that you took the time to be with us now, which is Earth Day. And like to celebrate, we wanted to create this panel to shed light on net zero catering and how we think it's really important for climate events, like events in general, to be really mindful on their food choices, for to try and be more aware on the emissions that most food in panels, in events, in climate events has. And because we think it is important that youth perspectives are listened to on how to hold sustainable climate events and events for institutions, for organizations, and even for collectives of youth activists. So right now we will be presenting the institution that has helped us in all this process, which is ProVeg. And I just wanted to do a quick introduction on ProVeg's work. ProVeg is a food awareness organization that has a mission to replace 50% of animal products globally with plant-based and cultivated foods by 2040 to transform the global food system. And we are the youth board of ProVeg, so we are a group of wonderful activists and youth from around the world. And right now we will be having, me, Nika, Selma, Sarah, Ryan as speakers. We will be presenting them later when they are going to talk. Right now we are gonna be hearing from Nika the whole objective of this panel and of the work we have been carrying with alongside ProVeg recently around the preparations that we are doing on the road to COP28, sorry. And so we will be hearing from Nika.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here today. So I'm here to introduce the campaign that we are launching today along with this event. So in today's event, we're talking about net zero catering, and when we believe that this can be done at COP28 and we can have more climate friendly food at climate conferences. So we have launched a letter to the COP28 presidency, which talks about this. So together with Young Go, which is the official youth constituency of the UNFCCC and the youth-led Food at COP campaign, ProVeg has written a statement letter to the presidency asking them to ensure sustainable catering at the climate conference this year. And the letter has been sent out today, which is Earth Day. And it was endorsed by over 140 youth and civil society organizations from around the world. And this letter is open now to more organizations to sign. So you can find the letter, it'll be shared in the chat. And you can also find it on the Food at COP Instagram page and the ProVeg Instagram page. And the letter basically has 3 asks of the UAE presidency. So the first ask is to ensure that at least 3/4 of all food options presented at the conference are plant-based. The second is to ensure that all food options are affordable, nutritious, regionally sourced where feasible, and culturally inclusive. And third, to ensure that a clear emissions label is displayed for all the food options as was implemented in COP26. So these are the 3 asks. And we have also asked the UAE to discuss this important topic with us at the intersessionals, also known as the SBs, which are happening in June in Bonn. And we hope to engage in constructive conversations around this letter. So we're really excited to share this letter. And today you'll be able to hear from myself as well as our other panelists a little bit about our perspectives on this and where we come from in our own regions of the world and why we think this is important. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Nika. Yeah, this is really important. And the whole campaign is going to be hopefully really listened to from the presidency. And Yeah, well, I just wanted to sort of introduce a little myself. I've been talking, and also Nika, but we will be presenting us all later. And well, I am Shannon. I'm a plant-based climate justice activist. A lot of us in here are. I'm also an Inkiwa descendant, which is an indigenous community from Mexico. And I'm also an undergraduate student at the National Autonomous University of Mexico. And well, I just focus on climate action and land defense in general. And in here, we will be also listening from many others and climate activists that are also working towards food awareness, food systems. So first, I will, like to know more about all these problems that unsustainable catering and in general, like meat consumption has specifically in the Middle East and North African region, for which we will be listening from Selma, which is also a member of the youth board and is also a social and climate youth activist that has taken part in many programs and organizations seeking to change and serve to the SDGs. And also she is like a panelist on youth and justice. She has been involved in various United Nations projects and organizations where she has addressed the challenges that Africa faces and also the region. And so, yeah, will we going to use on that?
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for your intro. I truly appreciate it. Thanks for giving it to me in here. So as actually stated by you, so I'm Selma. I'm from Algeria. I'm currently here residing in Lebanon as I'm studying in the American University of Beirut. I'm majoring in political science and absolutely majoring in this. The major itself was really related to my activism work, as I see it's so important to kind of drop to policy and like what's this very hard process that everyone is talking about, turning something into a policy. I was so curious to know, why is it always, specifically maybe in the MENA region and then the world, of course, because it's hard everywhere, why it's always hard to turn something into a policy or to approve something, and to approve something actually that works for the entire world. Like why is it always hard to prioritize human rights over and humans in general over economies and businesses? Why is it always hard? Or is it like always about the benefit side that is not there? So as stated by our moderator, distinguished moderator, we in the MENA region, there has been always a struggle when it comes to advocating and advertising and promoting, to be more precise, about the having like VAC campaigns. We have been like seeing recently, like we used really, even though when we talk about the MENA region, we talk about having a sustainable agriculture, we're talking about having agriculture as one of the main resources of benefits and profits, I would say. But like not seeing this implemented as campaigns, and not seeing people embracing the vegetarian side of it, and like knowing more about net zero catering it has been always like a struggle for us as activists to even like introduce this to people, as there isn't so much mindset out there. So what is missing is always the awareness that we're supposed to do. So basically, like I do see it, like to combat this, like we need really to increase awareness. It's all about that, and about the benefits of plant-based diet, like not only for our health, but also like for the planet itself. Like we need to encourage catering companies, and this is actually literally my speech to every single activist from the region and Africa as well. We're seeing great work in Africa. Kenya is a great example so far, but like in the MENA region, not really. And that's actually something that we need to work on and encourage. We need to encourage catering companies to adopt net zero catering practices and offer more plant-based options on their menus. Like we can also work with local farmers to promote sustainable agriculture and reduce the carbon footprint for our food supply chain, which is, for example, something that I'm not seeing in my community, and we're not seeing it much done in the Arab world so much. So it's still like always the very traditional diets being there. Like also one of the challenges we face in changing is like changing just the perception of plant-based diets in the region. We're not yet seeing people getting what is it like to have like this implemented. I also like would love to address something like many people, for example, in the MENA still believe that a meal without meat is not complete. Now, like, we need to educate people about that. Like, we need to educate people about the benefits of plant-based diets and how, let's say, delicious and satisfying they can be. We need also like to work with chefs to develop plant-based recipes that are like, I would say it's fine, like culturally also can be embraced and appropriate. Like as something else like that I want to address is like, we need really to focus on net zero catering and increase vegetable campaigns in the MENA region to reduce the carbon footprint of the catering industries and promote healthy, sustainable and eating habits, which is yet not there. By, I would say, like, really working together as activists, even though I know like the MENA region is still missing that part somehow. I mean, I would say the gap of communication that is still there. And I hope actually, since we did have 2 COPs already in the MENA region, I hope this actually will kind of bring us together and kind of address something, not only in terms of food and sustainability, but also addressing other challenges, like, for example, advocating for energy transition as well. We can create really a healthy and more sustainable food system for ourselves and for the future generations. And that's actually by really bringing us together. And I hope one more thing is to actually have the upcoming COP focused on that, because we're talking about the region itself, and we're also talking about having COP in one of the MENA countries. So address the challenges that are not there, address the things that are still lacking and missing, and hopefully actually we will figure out a solution for that, because we're still so away compared to so many other regions in the world. Like, we're still not embracing the simplest campaigns that started years ago in other regions. So it's really high time. I think this is like the perfect time during this amazing day, which is Earth Day, to set such reminders. And this is a reminder, like the direct reminder for all the activists in the region and the world, especially the ones who are still missing and lacking this. It's high time for us to really embrace net zero catering. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Selma. I love that you have touched on this issue that is really relevant, right, around culture and how it is embedded with our food patterns, like the consumption patterns, and given that sustainable agriculture is a crucial sector for most economies, as you rightly said. So now I would like to build on this talk around how culture is a huge issue and how we can increase education and awareness for consumers. I would like to hear now from Sarah Merhi, she is a junior consultant at HealthyPad, and she is a future sustainability leader at Masdar, which is a Abu Dhabi future energy company. And she's really passionate about food systems transformation, and she advocates for sustainable food systems. So now we will be hearing from her.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. So I would like to add on more on what Salma has touched upon and why net zero catering is super important for us at this COP, which is the second COP that's being held in the MENA region. So when it comes to net zero catering, or when we deeply look at plant-based diets and diets that are not just benefit the health, but they also benefit our planet. And when we look at our region, our diets are super integrated to culture and tradition. And this also creates our food behavior and our food behavioral patterns. So when we look at our community and the population here in the MENA region, because it's super integrated into culture and tradition, we have been having the same food patterns, dietary patterns for the past decades. And so to change that, something crucial needs to happen. And I think that this statement letter that calls on COP28 presidency for net zero catering is the best point to start at in terms of raising awareness, starting from COP28 having UAE spearhead the food system transformation, and also innovate in line with the SDGs for plant-based diets and diets in generally that are earth-friendly, I would say. So to further highlight this, because in the region, plant-based diets are not high on the agenda, having UAE talk about this and having them lead by having net zero catering at COP28 will shed light on the matter, will raise awareness across key stakeholders. And this message will cascade alongside the GCC countries, the sister GCC countries, and the rest of the MENA region, which is something super important, as Salma said, to change action into policy. When this has light shed upon it, we're going to see key stakeholders discuss it further, negotiate over it, and integrate it into policy. When I look, because I'm based in the UAE, most of what is innovative and technological that's being implemented for food systems is on the plant agriculture side. But from animal agriculture, it has yet to reach in the region, and it's not high on the agenda. But we're recently seeing new ventures into plant-based, new ventures into sustainable food being established in the region. And I think this is key. That will also echo the need for net zero food in general, and not just net zero catering. So I hope that this net zero catering starts at COP28, but doesn't end there. And it's so crucial for us to just take this beyond COP28, not just we have net zero catering at COP28 and that's it. No, we need to have this ongoing. We build upon this. We keep key stakeholders in charge, and we keep them at top of the mind as to why we need plant-based, why do we need to innovate? Because we know that our food systems they contribute 1/3 of global emissions, and yet it's still not high up on the policy agenda. So this is something that I think is crucial for us to tackle. And I think having youth discuss this is super important, because youth are the future leaders. We are going to be in charge in the future. And so having us there, having us listening to our opinions is key to also having policy at a policy level and having it an effective change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I see that, yeah, you are really educated on this. And yeah, it's really important for us to listen to youth. And yeah, I really love how you talk about how the starting point for, sorry, for food transformation is actually in policy, right? And in policy making spaces, which is COP28. So now we will be listening from Nika, who already told us about this whole campaign. And Nika is an Iranian-Canadian author, and she's also a climate activist at Youth Climate Save Canada. She works full-time at Environment and Climate Change Canada, and she is also a policy analyst for coal mining regulation. So, hello, Nika.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I really love the points you made, Sarah and Salma. And I am from Iran originally. I grew up there, so I really resonate with what you're saying about the culture in the Middle East. And I'm really hopeful that this will be a changing point now that we're having these COPs in the Middle East, and we can bring food systems. Like last year was the first time there was food pavilion at COP, and hopefully this is the first year that we really have food in the conversation. So I'm talking a little bit about my experience in Canada with campaigns around net zero catering. So I have been involved with advocating for net zero catering campaigns or default veg campaigns in Canada for the last few years. And I wanted to give a couple case studies that we've worked on here that have been successful and that are hopefully can shed light on what organizations can do even beyond COP to move this message forward. So one of the campaigns that we worked on is there's a group here called Don't Mess with the Dawn, and they are basically a cleanup organization. So they clean up one of the ravines that is in our local area. And usually at their events, they were serving pizzas And the pizzas were generally made with animal products like cheese and meat. And we had the opportunity to speak to them and really explain to them how, if they aligned their catering at their events with more of a climate friendly message, how that would really benefit them and make them more consistent with what they stand for. If they're all about having a clean and sustainable environment, then they should also have that in their catering. And so after speaking with them, we were successful in having one of the cleanups to be fully plant-based pizzas. And one of the concerns that they raised, which you may find as well in your activism, if you are doing this, is where can they find a caterer that will be fully plant-based? However, they realized that the catering that they were already using was able to do it at the scale that they needed. So although that might be an objection that you might face or that people may have, if there will be enough catering available to make it plant-based, they were able to get the right amount of pizzas. And they were also concerned that maybe the attendees will notice that the pizza is not animal-based. However, they found that the attendees actually really enjoyed the pizza and it all worked out for them. And now going forward, so that was one specific event. Now going forward, the question is, are they still continuing to have plant-based catering? And the answer is that they have now started to have more plant-based. So even though they are still having some pizzas that are animal-based, they have started adding in the vegan pizzas, whereas before they did not. So that is an example of one campaign that was successful here. And I think the main lesson is that change can happen. However, it might be slow and it might not always be fully linear. And it also depends on who is organizing the event. So those were the lessons learned. And then there's two other campaigns that I wanted to highlight. So our airline in Canada, our national airline is called Air Canada. And we had a campaign with Youth Climate Save for Air Canada to make their catering on the airplane to be fully plant-based. And that campaign we launched last year, and we met with actually the procurement team at Air Canada, and we actually explained to them why this would help them as an airline to have lower emissions, because industries like airlines, they have very high emissions naturally. So this was an idea for them to implement their own catering, whether it's in the airplane or in the airline lounges, to be net zero. So that's a campaign and it's still ongoing. So it's not fully complete, but that's another idea of a place where you can have a net zero campaign for an organization that states that they are working towards net zero. And then the last campaign is the Globe Conference. So in Canada, we have an annual business conference for businesses that are working on sustainability. And this year and last year, we launched a campaign for them to make their catering net zero. And we got a response back from them that they have removed beef from their menu. And that was last year before the conference. And then this year, unfortunately, they brought the beef back. So I actually attended both of the conferences and I was reporting on the food to really try to hold them accountable for what they were serving. And this year, unfortunately, they brought it back. And even though last year they did not have beef, they still did have dairy and they still did have other animal products. And so we are continuing this campaign with them. And I did meet with the CEO of the conference and he heard my comments. And so we will see if the campaign will be successful. But those are a few campaigns that we've done in Canada. And I think that youth can do these campaigns beyond COP around this issue to really continue the momentum. Although I think COP can be the starting place and where it can be an inspiration for other conferences. I think beyond COP, we can continue to try to push for change in our own conferences that we are attending in our own country. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nika. I love that you had talked a lot about your experiences and these events that, yeah, it happens a lot, right? Even in grassroots organizations that try to tackle climate change and all the effects, it even at some points, it could be contributing to them. So yeah, that will be, yeah, something that we need to change. And yeah, I love that you're leading all these campaigns. And now we will also be hearing from the experiences of Ryan, which is also a animal, climate, and sustainable food systems advocate, also from Canada, from Toronto. She is a Plan International Canada Youth Ambassador, and she's also a volunteer at Care About Climate and a research assistant at the University of Toronto. So she will now talk us about her experiences at climate conferences. And yeah, so we're now. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the amazing introduction. It is my pleasure to be here and speak with all of you about some experiences that I have had. And like Nika, I am based in Toronto. So some of the experiences she was talking about, I am familiar with as well. So great to be speaking alongside her as well. So here in Canada, definitely there is a strong sense, I would say, of having meat and dairy as part of meals. Obviously, Canada, especially where I'm from in Toronto, it is very diverse. However, there's certainly still a very strong sentiment that meat and dairy in a lot of different areas are necessary. And this came very clear to me when I attended COP15, the United Nations Biodiversity Conference in Montreal this past December. And I would have thought going into the conference that having plant-based catering would be at the top of the agenda, especially considering that, according to the United Nations, agricultural expansion is driving almost 90% of global deforestation. And one of the top causes of that is beef production. And it's also one of the leading causes of biodiversity loss. So it would have made sense to me for there to have been plant-based catering there. However, I was surprised to go in and see that there were a large number of meals being served that contained meat. For example, at some locations, they were serving roast beef sandwiches, which I, again, found very surprising considering that beef production is one of the leading causes of both deforestation and biodiversity loss. So I think that taught me a variety of lessons. I only had the chance to stay at COP15 for a few days. However, I gathered a lot of information during my time there, and I think that it provides some key lessons for us as activists and advocates to take forward. I think that plant-based catering at climate events is an opportunity for organizers of such events to put their words into action, especially seeing that the event I was at, COP15, was in part led by the Canadian government. And here in Canada, our government they make it very clear that climate change is one of their top priorities. And I think if they had taken the advantage of the opportunity at COP15 to prioritize and serve plant-based foods, I think that would have benefited their message. And I think that it's important for us as advocates to make clear to decision makers, to policy makers, and to governments that if they want their messages to reflect well, it's important that they take those same steps, especially in spaces such as climate conferences. And that would definitely be the main lesson that I took away. It also reflects into the larger community. By having messages, for example, at COP15 where meat is being served, I think it undermines how serious of an issue and a threat to biodiversity protection agriculture is, especially beef production. So I think by having those plant-based foods available and certainly prioritized at climate conferences and biodiversity conferences, I think that that will better reflect the message of governmental priorities and also just the need for even advocates in general to prioritize plant-based food. When I was at the conference talking about beef production and animal agriculture as a whole, going into it, I thought again that it would have been at the top of the list of things to talk about. However, during the plenaries I attended, the negotiations as well, it just was not brought up. And there isn't really a clear mention of it in the final global biodiversity framework that was created. So I think going forward, that is something that needs to be prioritized and again reflected in the food that is present at these conferences. And I'm very happy that we're launching this campaign relating to the letter, and I'm so glad to hear that over 140 organizations have signed on, because I think for us as advocates, that is one of the first steps in holding leaders accountable and making sure that going forward, plant-based catering is prioritized at these conferences. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Yes, I think that what you said is really important, that yeah, it needs to be accountable, right? Like leaders and even us, right? We have all these agency to bring sustainable catering, like sustainable food choices, you know, like rightful food choices to the things we already do, right? To events, to yeah, campaigns and all that. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of give some more input around the experience also that happens in here in Mexico, because yeah, it also is really common for people to think that culture is what makes us eat meat and to eat all these things that are not so sustainable. But at least in here, I think that huge thing that we need to recognize is that even or yeah, the dishes that the whole world recognizes about us are based on meat, but actually like before colonization, like in here, there were not a lot of domesticated animals. Like there was only like this type of turkey that was domesticated and that people used to consume, but only on celebration times. So I think that there is a huge yeah, legacy of ancestral dishes that indigenous communities have already been based on, that are really important and that we could recover to yeah, build this transition towards a more sustainable world. Because yeah, I believe that there's a lot of diversity that we need to recognize and to yeah, bring all again to the table. And yeah, so I love that you all are also advocating for that, are also doing and leading a lot of campaigns to change that. And I hope that also all the people that are with us in here also take this into their own lives, into the events they lead. So yeah, right now we would like to also hear from you. If you yeah, we have any question, we will open a short, yeah, well, a Q&A for people to talk to us to see if they, yeah, also have experiences around this. If they have any question now, you could, yeah, open your mic or raise your hand in here. Yes, it is really just to like sort of start that discussion. Maybe there is like something, yeah, you can also write it on the chat. Yeah, something that you would like to hear more about. I think also to share all these experiences is really important, so we can yeah, keep building on this. Maybe it is different on the place you are in, maybe you are a leader at our organization and you can share us your insights. That will be really valuable. maybe I could just ask a question then to, yeah, to Sarah or to Selma to, yeah, I would like to know, since you are based now on the region where COP is going to happen, I would like to know if you intend to, yeah, sort of network or do any intervention on the build on to, yeah, create this momentum. I don't know, like, I'm interested on what is happening now in there in terms of advocacy and, yeah, all these things that are going on right now.
So in terms of, I'm going to take the mic, sorry, Salma. So in terms of, just for now, and I'll give you back the mic. When it comes to animal agriculture, so far in the UAE where I am based, there isn't a lot of advocacy on it. There's not a lot of awareness and education on it. But as I did mention, there are new ventures. I can list the ventures: Thrive, Switch Foods, Nabati. Those are some of the local companies that are coming up with plant-based. I feel they will have a lot of presence at COP28. And I think they will play a crucial role as to advocating for that change. From my end, we are actively working towards creating awareness and educating key stakeholders. So we're trying to get to key stakeholders so that they can cascade the message down to consumers, because we need to change the way of thought for key stakeholders so that it can be changed into policy, and then that will be cascaded to consumers. So from my end, I'm personally advocating on that level. And hopefully I will reach to a more consumer interface level. Salma, on to you.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree with Saran. By the way, this is actually not only the UAE, like we're seeing it everywhere. Where I actually addressed that before. Like we're really seeing people really advocating for, again, vegetarian campaigns, trying to kind of really let's kind of bring up this mindset of let's make some change a bit, you know. It's high time for us to do some change. It should be implemented everywhere. It is already implemented in some parts of the world. So why not doing this in the MENA region specifically? So it's still the same. However, to be honest, when it comes to talking about COP28, like specifically, personally, I was more advocating for having for addressing climate finance, because we have been seeing so many climate activists in the MENA region not really like kind of lost with that, and like it's just like whenever we try to address it, it's always like not perfectly addressed, or addressed in a way where we barely get answers. So like we want to really address that side, and like when we talk usually about like finance and funding in general, these things and these campaigns are usually brought up into the table because we're talking about having more research done to prove that yes, we need more campaigns done on that, you know. So like it's really involves so many things. That's why we wanted like to make it a bit like general, so that we can address as many things as we can. And like one more thing that I want to address about the COP28 is the fact of like maybe bringing climate activists all together, because like recently we have been invited to a private meeting where we have been asked to have like kind of give inputs and suggestions on what we want to see exactly, and actually addressing food and agriculture was one of the most important themes that were brought up into the table, because we're seeing so many, you know, regions in the MENA region like really seeing that agriculture is no longer an interest, especially for youth. It's still considered as that very boring field that no one really want to discuss, and it's like more about energy transition, you know, innovative solutions and startups and you know, whatever related to that. But like agriculture is being so neglected, and that was actually even statistically proven. So this actually was addressed as well, and it was really good. Like it was us youth who addressed this. I mean, it is noticeable to a point where we had to address it. So hopefully through this, actually, we can manage to do something and address it in during COP, in addition to the, as I said, the wider topic, which is climate finance. So yeah.
Thank you so much for clarifying on that, because yeah, I think it's something that, yeah, we really don't talk enough about it. Yeah, and there are many, yeah, I think questions around that we still need to ask the policymakers. And yeah, well, right now I see that there are, well, one question on the chat from Leo. I don't know if he would like to, yeah, say more about it, but he's asking about if people interested, like specifically college student advocates in the US, could support the campaign and how can they do so. I think that right now the letter for the campaign has already been sent, so it will be now interesting to like try to amplify the message, to share all these, yeah, all these videos and all the resources, media resources that have been created by ProVeg and the Food at Cup campaign as well. So yeah, their links are in here. I don't know if you have them. I can reshare them. So yeah, now I think that we have to create all that momentum, right? To amplify the message. And also I think that on the build on to COP, on the SV, if people are going to be there, yeah, we can also like create all this, yeah, momentum. Yes, Nika, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to that question a little bit because I can speak a little bit about Canada, like what youth in Canada are doing and what youth in the US can do as well. But to answer his question, I also shared in the chat that they can join the Food at COP campaign. So the Food at COP campaign as part of Youngo is open to all youth around the world. And they do have weekly meetings where youth can join in and be more directly involved in different aspects of the campaign, whether that's helping to translate things or to help with social media, etc. So those are some ways that they can get involved with this campaign. And then Leo also mentioned like university level students or college students. And one of the ways that college students are getting involved with this issue is actually advocating for plant-based food in their universities. So this is actually really taken off in the UK, where it's called Plant-Based Universities Movement, and they have successfully made a few universities across the UK to have plant-based default in their student union catering. So that's a way that like college and university specifically can get involved. There's also the plant-based treaties. So the plant-based treaty has university level chapters. So youth can also start their own chapter in their university for the plant-based treaty. So for example, in Canada, at the University of Toronto, there's recently been a plant-based treaty chapter, and they can do different things, whether that's having awareness events on campus or doing food sampling, so giving out different plant-based food for students to try. So there's so many ideas, but maybe as a first step, they can just get started with the Food at COP campaign, and then hopefully they get inspired to do more things.
Yeah, really inspiring. Thank you so much, Nika, because yeah, I think it's important that we all engage on these processes because yeah, our perspectives and our voice are really important in there. So yeah, I maybe if there is any other question, we could raise them now. If not, I would just like to make some last remarks because I think it's really important that we talk about this more and that we retake like I think the political aspect of plant-based choices, because I think that sometimes it is like less valued, or like if it's something that we should not address enough. But yeah, I do think it's really important because as communitarian feminists say, like Vandana Shiva, like the first step is around what we put in our plate, right? Or to what we fuel our body and our relationships or world on. And yeah, I think it's really important that we address this more even more at climate events, right? Because if we are trying to change the world and change the system and to do all these things to keep us alive, I think it's really important that we keep yeah, asking what we can do every day and at these events, because yeah, all the solutions are already here and we just need to implement them and to amplify them. So I don't know if anyone else would like to make some last remarks. Yeah, Selma, please go ahead.
Yes, of course. I just wanted to say to all like who have been here and to every single human being on this earth, we would love to wish you a very happy day, Earth Day. Please keep advocating for this, keep fighting for this. It does worth the struggle. I know it's hard, especially maybe as climate activists and activists in general. It's really hard to kind of really make change and start it. We just started a campaign to ban the use of plastic in our uni, and it wasn't that easy. It wasn't that hard. So much logistics, so much things to do, but like looking up to what people have done already, and it was possible, and the amazing outcome like amazing activists are doing, it's just like it gives already so much motivation to just go on implementing things and make things happen, because after all, it's not for us, it's for the upcoming generations. And of course, again, as I always keep saying this, no one want to be blamed for destroying someone's dream, you know, and it's all of that one future that we want to just make it happen. And no one want to leave pictures, no one want to, we want to really leave real things. We want to leave an impact. We want to teach a community, a generation that is coming, that it's worth the try, it worth the struggle, and it worth to just go for it and speak up. And guess what? We're going to be annoying, and we're going to be just keep always saying this, and we're going to do it again every COP, every gathering, and every single freaking virtual meeting, because we're never getting bored, and we're going to get to our outcome eventually. And that's the aim. So thank you so much really for being here and for this amazing gathering. And I hope you guys like really got things from it, and we're still gonna do more. So yeah, thank you one more time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Selma. Yes, you have said it perfectly. I also believe that we need to be more loud, do more things, and we will be doing so on the following months. So thank you so much for taking the time for being here. And if there's no more remarks, I think I would just like to thank you all. And see you soon.